And of course, it's another day to take a look at happenings in and around Nigeria here on the Polity on Udala Radio 104.7 FM, 70 minutes past 9 o'clock in our studio. Good morning to you. It's been a very rainy day here in the city of Onitsha, Anambra State. I hope you are safe wherever you are. And it's very unfortunate that our roads are nothing to exactly write home about. And unfortunately, it becomes even worse once the rain wets the earth. But here we are, we'll keep talking, hoping that someday we'll see the kind of Nigerian roads that we have spoken of probably the Fourth Republic. I recall watching that BBC documentary, and one of the speakers said when they were growing up, if you as much as meet a pothole on your way to school, by the time you are on your way back from school, the pothole would have been taken care of. I can't remember the last time a pothole was taken care of in Nigeria. I mean, the Nigeria I met, I have never seen a pothole taken care of unless it has become a menace. I am hoping that that Nigeria, where everyone is responsible for the well-being of everyone, will eventually emerge. Also, there's a trending controversy, or would I call it a debate, around the latest BBC documentary on the Biafran War that was released. I'll play some clips from there, and of course, Tony Mbeki is here to give some answers to some of the questions I and many other Nigerians have been asking. Good morning to you once again and welcome. I am Chisom Chinedu. Franklin Ebuka is here as well. Good morning, Frank.
Good morning, Chisom. Good morning to every Nigerian. This very morning, woke up to rain. So anybody going for, should I say early morning business, early morning whatever, or any endeavor, of course, you're going to run into this rain this very morning. If you're not driving, so the best way for you is to find your raincoat, find your umbrella, or, get to find any other way for you to protect yourself. So that is the morning we met this very morning. It's a wet morning here in Anambra State, and maybe beyond Anambra State. I talked about the BBC documentary, which has been getting some reactions. No thanks to some of the content of the documentary. I think that documentary is titled something. I think that Survivors from the Biafra War. Mm-hmm. I think it dropped on June 1st or thereabout. Yeah, that was June 1st when it dropped on YouTube. Like people who want to watch, they can watch it. And then I checked it. I saw that it has like a 1,001 comments. And many of the comments there are raising questions regarding some of the claims made in that very documentary. But the thing is that people who know history or people who witnessed the Biafran War, of course, they will have their own narration to either buttress or disprove whatever is contained in that very documentary. Then coming to Anambra State, perhaps I need to highlight what I have seen so far in Anambra State Ministry of Justice. And I'm going to watch it closely to see what is going to happen there. This very ministry has a commissioner who was inaugurated. I think that was on March. No, he was confirmed in March this year as the commissioner for Justice and Attorney General of Anambra State. Talking about Mr. Tochukwu Nweke, who happens to be a senior advocate of Nigeria. Why I'm talking about this is something happened yesterday. Okay, not yesterday. It was 2 days ago. There was a statement that was issued from that very ministry, where the ministry said it's going to review all pending criminal cases in the state that stem from land disputes, and the aim is that those land disputes that are civil matters that have been criminalized, he's going to withdraw them, because according to him, civil matters should not be taken as a criminal matter, because we live in a country whereby if you are involved in a dispute with somebody who is rich enough and wealthy and well connected, the person uses the police to harass you, where civil matters are treated as if they are criminal matters. Now, why I'm highlighting this is I have watched the move of this very commissioner since March when he was confirmed till date, and it seems like he has a vision to bring about some reforms in our justice sector in Anambra State. Last time he was out there, seeking for pro bono lawyers who are going to help the state in executing some pending cases, because he wants quick justice dispensation for some cases. Some cases would have lingered for a long time in the court, and he wanted to be dealt with. There are other things happening in this very ministry within a short time that I have picked interest in. So I'm going to put my eyes on this very ministry and see how they are going to do things differently, if they are going to bring that much needed reform in our justice sector in Anambra State, because I believe it's going to go a whole way. It's going to go a long way in bringing about confidence to the people.
Absolutely.
Because why I'm saying this is this. I believe that if we get our justice sector right, there are so many other things Nigerians are going through that are going to fall into place. I learned that many businesses, especially international business, before they come into a country or come into a state to set up a business, they look at the justice system. Because in the course of doing their business, if they run into a dispute or run into this litigation, what chance do they stand to get justice? So if we get this right in this very state, of course, I believe it's going to be a reference point for some other state to key into.
Speaking about not just getting justice, but how fast, because I came across a report of a boy who graduated from a university in Nigeria in 2000. He was set to graduate in 2007, and somehow he was awarded a second-class lower division. And he said no, he could have done better if 7 of his courses were remarked. And he asked for the courses to be remarked, and he was just being kept pending and all of that. And in 2011, he sued the school, and he's just getting justice. How many years later? And the question is, it's not just about justice. Yes, awarding 18 million, 2 million cost of litigation. What chances, what opportunities have been lost in all of this time? I also came across, while it's not in Anambra State, a report of a boy who went missing at 14. And 13 years later, he was found. And according to reports, he has been in jail. And it has raised conversations about illegal jailing of people. How do you throw somebody behind bars? And year in, year out, people are awaiting trial. So many cases have not even been, brought before any judge. People are just behind bars. And like you pointed out, there is really an urgent need for the justice system, not just in Anambra State, but in Nigeria, to be reformed.
Now, do you recall the story of Emeka Nzezurike? He regained freedom after spending 10 years behind bars without trial. And guess what? He was wrongly jailed in 2015 at the age of 12. That was in Lagos State.
The boy that had a lot of infections and all of that.
So you see that this is just like one of the many stories we can share about our justice system, whereby people are just arrested and put behind bars without trial. Many people have spent a good number of years behind bars just because there was an allegation, and somebody who is well connected, picks them up, dumps them in the prisons, no trial for years. Because of what you committed, you're going to spend 5 years in prison, but the person had already spent 10 years in prison without trial. So that does not in any way make sense, and it does not in any way help us to reform, because sometimes I quarreled against going to rename prison service to Nigeria Correctional Center, and I was asking myself, is it about changing the name or about changing what is in the system? They said it's no longer prisons, it's correctional center, because what they want to do is that they want to use the prison walls for reformation. Yes, we know that is what it's supposed to be, but it doesn't have by main nomenclature. It happens by what you do.
You're reforming somebody who has no business being there in the first place.
It's interesting.
Interesting and really sad. Dr. Tony Olisambeki, Okarakiti, one of us. Good morning.
You're welcome. Good morning, Chisholm. Good morning, Nigerians. Good morning, the good people of Southeast. Good morning, Ndi Anambra. Good morning, Ndi Onitsha Donido. Good morning, Ndi Osumo. Good morning, Ndi Afia, Ndi Oluwaka, Ndi Nkuzi, Ndi Oluoyibo. Ndi Nanye Fonyenya. Everyone under the reach of a voice. The farmers, the artisans, different professionals, the journalists, lawyers, engineers, and also those who read sociology and anthropology, and as well those who are, extension workers at different levels, those who are into community work. We appreciate every one of you. We appreciate all of you, and we must take this a bit higher. Even our elders, the religious leaders, the traditional rulers, and people of goodwill. You are welcome to this another edition. Today is 3rd June, being Wednesday in the month of, in the year of our Lord Jesus. And we thank God Almighty for another miracle of waking up. We are back in our sanctuary to profess the truth. Not the way it will please you, but the way it will please the Almighty. To ensure that all the T's are crossed and all the I's are dotted as well. We thank God Almighty for a day like this. It's raining here, maybe showers from above. Showers of blessing. That's what we're experiencing. I don't know your area. I know it's same in most places, in Oka, in Enugu, in Asaba, in Warri, in Owerri, and in Umuahia. Even in Abakaliki, the same thing, because I've got message that it is raining, showers across different areas and places. And a lot of things are happening. Like this morning while being here, I got a call from somebody who told me that the hunter people around the DMJ runabout, that once you beat traffic mistakenly, they will ask you the amount you're going to pay. Sometimes 70,000, 80,000. That's what I was told this morning.
Minimum wage.
That's what these hunter people around the DMJ runabout do call for those who beat traffic.
And the governor said every traffic offense is in Anambra is no more than 10,000.
It cannot be more than 10 or 5,000 depending on the vehicle. If it is articulated vehicle, it's not going to be more than 10,000. If it's just a small car, it shouldn't be more than 5,000. But I don't know why these people around the DMJ runabout will be making such demand. Is that not criminality in its highest places? We must call a spade a spade. We must talk to those involved. The local government mayor, one or two ways. Of course, I don't know if he's aware, aware of such anomalies. For me, if this continues, he may have it hot. There's something I witnessed in Abia State, and I said I must share it here. I cited in Abia State where a deputy governor, the convoy of a deputy governor, was observing traffic. And I said it's something that we must emulate. He has a convoy, and that convoy, his own SUV, the backup he lost, the bus, the black bus, another he lost. They were all observing traffic regulation. They stood there waiting for traffic lights, the green light to beam. And I said, can we have something of such in Anambra State? Yes, I observed that. Because the idea is here in Anambra State. Ordinary security vehicles, they don't obey traffic. I know there was a time I was saying these things here. Police, they don't obey traffic. Military, they don't obey traffic. Nobody except the Talakalawas, the commoners. These are the people that are expected to obey traffic, and if they mistakenly beat traffic, the Hunter people or the Atma people will be making such demand. But this demand is not coming from Atma, it's coming from Hunter, Onitsha North Traffic Agency, making demand of 70,000. That is criminality. Go and tell them. And I have to really ring this thing out. People should not be extorted for nothing. For me, it is pure extortion, and it must stop. If they don't want to stop it, we must stop it for them. They can't just come here and be, open. For me, they have opened their shop. They have opened business. But it is important we comply with traffic rules. We must observe traffic regulations. But situations where such things exist, we will not allow them to extort from us. And I've said it many times that we are also part of a problem. Things like this will be happening. We all keep quiet and sit over it. And they will do it bluntly with all manner of impunity. It's not going to be allowed. When people begin to resist certain establishments, the way we've seen in this case, it will not continue. And we must see what we can do to make sure that everybody, I would want to see our deputy governor one day. I don't know if you observe traffic. I cannot say what I'm not aware. He may or may not. But from the look of him being a medical doctor, he may be observing traffic rules. But I would want to also see that captured. I would want people, agencies, even bullion van. I don't see why bullion van will not wait and see the green light before it crosses. Bullion vans should be observing traffic. There will be a day. If I see those people, I will use my car and block them. Will all of us be there? Yes, all of us, because there is a law.
Let me add, because since you have raised this very thing, there was an experience I had in Anambra State. That was last week. I think last week Friday. I was heading to Ogun last week Friday. In fact, I got home, changed to underwear, so I had to set that for worker. I was going through. So when I got to Limca Road, that's around Ajip. There's a place they call Ajip. There's one street that you can connect to and get to the expressway. So I said, okay, let me take that very route and connect to the expressway. So I was getting close to the expressway, and I was pressed. So okay, let me just head towards the bush by the roadside. There's one bush by the road, but there's one bush there. So okay, let me just get to the bush and then ease myself. I got to the bush and I focused easing myself. So as I was about to finish, it was like I was hearing voices behind me. I just kept calm, finished, tucked in my shirt and turned back. Lo and behold, I saw Ocha Brigade operatives standing behind me. They were asking me, have you finished? And I turned to them. I said, finished what? He said, you were urinating by the road. I gave them this kind of, that kind of stern look. Are you crazy? So I get that kind of look. I say, how? Nobody spoke. So I not kept quiet. One of them now looked at me and said, oh, are you a policeman? I didn't say anything. Another one said, so then who are you? I didn't say anything. I just kept looking at them. Then one of them said, no, let's go. He respected us. That's what one of them said. Then before I could say Jack, from nowhere I saw a crowd of boys coming towards us. Guess what? These boys were just coming. They were coming to come and fight this very guy. So I told them to worry that I had already settled whatever it is, and they left. Now why am I saying this? Maybe if it wasn't me, they could have taken the person and said the person was urinating by the roadside. And I was asking myself, is it the kind of thing that they were asked to do? Like if you see somebody who is inside the bush urinating, you go there and say he's urinating by the roadside. So I do not know. In Anambra State, we have so many task force, who have been deployed to do one ad hoc job or the other. Good and fine. They are helping to bring some level of sanity, but these guys are not trained. They don't even know the scope of their job. And I'm asking, those who are heading this very task force or whatever they are they actually concerned about these people doing their job the way it's supposed to be done? Because with the manner they go about their activities, it does not in any way reflect what the government of Anambra State wants to build. Because if the government says we want to build Dubai Taiwan environment, is this the way they go about enforcement of whatever law or whatever policy or whatever initiative, where people will just feel that they can intimidate anybody? They just feel that they can do anything and get away with it. So it's just like a clarion call that why these people have been deployed to do some jobs. They need training, they need description, they need to be told on what is the scope of their job. Because I was just stunned, because anybody who knows me knows that I have known virtually where they have toilets within Onitsha, because I don't urinate in public. That's my personal policy. It was in the course of, I think, one of my movement. I was going somewhere and I came across a board junction and I was pressed. I went somewhere, I was asking them, where can I find public convenience? And they showed. That was there I got to know that around board junction there is a public convenience where you can pay and make use of that. So people who are supposed to supervise these very persons, they need to step up their games. They need to keep on educating them. Because for Ocha Brigade, from what I saw that very day, maybe there could be a time we are going to begin to hear clashes between Ocha Brigade and the boys who are not happy with the way they do their things. I must tell you that if these guys are going to work within the ambit of what they are told to do, I won't see people trying to confront them in a manner that could bring about violence. Then lastly, there's a video trending on social media about one of the buses which were brought in by the Enugu State Governor for public transport. To this thing they call the two-decker. One of them was meant to be used by Enugu Rangers for the parade of their trophy yesterday. And guess what? It broke down. And I saw people, pushing the bus. And people were now asking questions. are they the new buses that you brought in for public transport, or you just brought in refurbished buses and without even doing any job, they're already breaking down? So it's another question for accountability and the responsibility when it comes to government doing its job.
Oh, well, in terms of accountability, which, by the way, is going to be a very big question here, because, I mean, new vehicles are expected to come with warranty, serve for a period of time before they start to have technical issues, and not the kind of technical issues that you expect from refurbished vehicles and even vehicles that have been in use for quite some time, So there are a lot of questions when it comes to such procurements. Unfortunately, the governor may not be aware of maybe short cuts that have been taken, probably to profiteer and all of that. But it's good that questions are being asked. I'm also curious to find out if the government in question is going to be asking questions, and also to make sure that, they don't just keep having embarrassing outings. But we're going to tell you what the front pages of the papers say. Right after that, we'll dive into the conversation proper. On our table this morning, we have The Guardian, Vanguard, Daily Sun, and the Punch newspapers. And I'll begin with the Guardian newspaper. Governors under fire as insecurity threatens 52 million pupils. Basic education. That's on page 6. DSS explains and debates airport incident, says watch list under review on page 4. Presidency warns against night travelers. Choir stakeholders decry killings on page 30. It's really sad that instead of making our roads safe, we are told the best times to use them. I mean, night trips used to be the most convenient for business people who applied certain routes, especially for people who go far north and what have you. It used to be absolutely normal for them to just probably leave late in the evening, arrive their destination the next day, and it's really sad that now it has become a condition of these people use at night and civilians use during the daytime.
They'll tell you that they are giving advisory, but what do we say? We are at the point where we are between the devil and WC. Go forward, not know. Go backward, not know. So, in an attempt to see how they can be seen to still be responsible, government advice says, okay, don't use this road because of so and so. But ordinarily, why are roads constructed if it's not for people to make use of? But whereby we have become handicapped. So that kind of advice becomes the only way to go.
It's really a shame. World Health Organization rates Nigeria's Ebola risk low despite global threat. On page 4, Borno intensifies response as cholera kills 39. Suspected cases rise to 4,204. That's on page 30. And this is the season, right, Franklin?
Yes.
Rainy season. It's a time for certain disease outbreaks, and we might need to tighten, loose ends. And this is a point where we talk about improper disposal of waste, open defecation, water contamination, anything at all that would pose a health hazard, especially among children. Please, let's be careful. RCCG denies Adeboye's silence on insecurity, economic challenges on page 5. Akpabio moves to calm aggrieved senators after primary upset on page 3. Vulnerable economies face $20 billion oil bill surge as Nigeria records 70% petrol hike. That's on page 3, and we are sadly even going further. Atiku demands answers from INEC on voter database leak. That's on page 3. The rest are editorials.
Okay, so that story about RCCG denying Adeboye's silence on insecurity. Did you see his video yesterday where he said he was giving the Chief of Army Staff 90 days for them to deal with insecurity or resign? And I was asking myself, what was he herded into making that? Because there was a time, about 2 days ago, people were reacting, criticizing him, saying that he's been silent about the killings in the country and what have you not. And finally, yesterday, RCG went on Twitter saying that he has not been silent, blah 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 blah. And next time we saw his video, talking about insecurity, and finally ended with giving you 90 days for you to deal with insecurity or resign. And people are asking him, are you the commander in chief to give that kind of directive to the security bosses or not?
Sometimes when you say things the way you mean it, when you're not trying to be protective of certain relationships, you'd save yourself some embarrassment. I mean, you could have simply called for insecurity to be arrested without sounding clownish.
But the thing is this: I have been asking myself, if you are comfortable not to say anything about insecurity, why don't you maintain your silence? Than when people begin to heckle, tackle you, criticize you, and then you are railroaded into making a statement. At the end of the day, you end up making a mess of yourself. So why shouldn't you maintain that your dignified silence? I know at the point in time it was Pastor Jerry there. People were also tackling him. He hasn't said this, he hasn't said that, and he kept his silence. So for me, if the person speaks out or doesn't speak out, for me it doesn't matter. What matters is that at the end of the day, posterity will judge all of us based on how we have, kept our tracks here on earth. Now look at the headlines we have on Vanguard newspaper. The story there, the big one on page 5 says, Oyo Borno kidnappings, more pressure on FG, governors to rescue abducted school children. It has plenty of riders. By the way, yesterday we saw NUT embarking on protests across Nigeria.
Did you see the naked man?
No, I didn't see that very one.
He said he's a journalist.
He chose to go naked to protest.
He wore only briefs.
Okay. Oh. Yeah, doing me that very favor now. All right. So let's look at other headlines we have on the Vanguard newspaper. INEC data leak sparks row on page 8. Emekike threatens action against Wike's aid. I watched his video yesterday. He had an interview with a TV station from his house, and I was watching. I was watching the kind of drama that these people do. Nollywood is not actually a reality. So when you get into politics or when you get into the real life, you keep the actings.
Roll up your sleeves and get ready.
But I watched that very video. I felt disgusted the manner they put out that very video. Then another headline here says insecurity declares security emergency now. Khan tells FG on page 8. Operation Safe Corridor between justice for victims and mercy for terrorists on page 14. Adeboye to security chiefs. End terror in 90 days or resign on page 10. Then this one says court holds coroner's inquest into death of Chimamanda's son on page 10. Reps call for immediate funding for NCDC amid rising Ebola threat on page 9. 13 reps switch parties. Chimda resigns as minority leader on page 9. I think I wrote a piece last week about Chinda, how he matched the governorship candidate of the APC when it was not officially known that he had resigned from PDP, and secondly, nothing had been said on the floor of the House of Reps that he was no longer the leader of the minority people in the House. Until yesterday, we now heard from Speaker of the House that he had resigned, and interestingly, his letter of resignation was dated about, I think that was April. So we do not know whether it was backdated or actually he resigned before going on to emerge the Guba candidate of APC.
Your guess is as good as mine. I'm pretty sure you already have a clue as to what happened there.
All right, so the last headline on Vanguard says manufacturers' alternative energy expenditure surges 71.4% to 1.34 trillion naira in 2 years. The story is on page 19. And if you're asking why you keep on having the prices of goods going on every time, this is one of the factors, because when manufacturers spend more on alternative energy source just for them to manufacture, they have to factor all these things in the price of the commodity at the end of the day.
All right, on the Daily Sun newspaper, school children's abduction. Protests spread in Lagos, Oyo, Ogun Rivers, Abuja. The riders here, NLC, NUT, CSOs, youth demand urgent action. Akpabio seeks unity of purpose to defeat banditry. Politicians benefiting from insecurity. Ex-Chief of Army Staff Brutai speaks. UN, Jimo Ibrahim appointed chair of 5th Committee of General Assembly on page 28. INEC has questions to answer over CVR database leak. Atiku is speaking on page 27. DSS involved in independent investigation, says Commission. ADC crisis. Arekba Shola asks new judge to withdraw from Gombe's suit. On page 27, Nigeria's economy fractured by 66 years of blind policy, not only corruption. Ojikalo, on page 27 is speaking. Given a say CDS over others 3 months to end terrorism, banditry, or resign. Adeboye tells Tinubu can declares June 14 Black Sunday on page 26. And Nnamdi Kanu, U.S. Congress directs Secretary of State to engage Nigerian government. All of these stories on the front page of the Daily Sun newspaper.
Okay, so let's go back to the Punch newspaper. INEC DSS probe voter data leak as Atiku raises fears on page 29. Private sector faults 100,000 minimum wage proposal on page 9. Ebola alert, FG tightens airport border screening on page 18. These schools earn 600 billion naira in 3 months despite blackouts on page 9. School children abduction or your protest go nationwide. NAS moves on state police. On page 2, it has riders, teachers, residents protesting Kano, Port Harcourt, FCT, Edo, Cross River, Benue, Taraba, Anambra, Akwa Ibom, others. NLC, NUT, NANS rally at Governor Makinde's office. Senate observes 1 minute silence for slain teachers. Reps Senate to order set to expedite state police bill as anger spreads over abduction, security failures. These are more you're going to read on that very big story. Then, Northwest IDPs near 800,000 naira. My goodness. Northwest IDPs near 800,000 amid killings. That's according to a report on page 7. So safe officers in police net over Ogun man's death on page 5. Democracy Day, Tinubu to address National Assembly June 12. That story can be found on page 16 of the Punch newspaper.
All right, then. Those are the stories you'd find on the front pages today. So, Tony, I'm pretty sure, have you had the time to take a look at that BBC documentary?
Well, I have not listened or watched the documentary, but I've seen the
reactions,
the videos, the reactions, where the ingenuity spirit of the people of Southeast were actually at display during the Civil War, because a lot of things were done to ensure survival.
Give me a second to play you some of these clips, and of course we'll quickly take a look at these. They have raised questions from my end, and take a listen.
The country made so much money they didn't know what to do with it. Britain's colonial rulers had left an uneasy coalition of several vast tribal groupings. Most significant were the Muslim houses in the north, the Yorubas in the west, and 14 million Igbos in the eastern region. The Igbos were Christian, they were generally wealthier and better educated than other Nigerians, and they dominated business and the civil service. They also happened to be sitting on Nigeria's vast oil reserves.
This is one question I am still very curious about. I mean, the Southeast and Igbos sitting on vast of Nigeria's oil reserves. That's a question that I haven't been able to find answers to.
Biafra produces enough fuel to keep the army and the civilian population on necessary wheels.
Most of the oil discovered in Nigeria was in Biafra. If we were going to win the war, we needed to capture the city of Port Harcourt and all the oil wells to give Nigeria the economic advantage to prosecute the war.
The crisis is costing Shell BP millions.
Okay, so Tony, this controversy around the oil discovered in Nigeria at the time being majorly in the Southeast, I am curious to find out if they refer to places like Port Harcourt as a Southeast, then I cannot remember any major demarcations having been made in that regard lately. So where is this disconnect coming from? Where is this? Is it a misinformation or a misinterpretation of geographical locations and partitioning?
Well, for avoidance of doubt, I believe you meant Eastern region. There is difference between Eastern region and Southeast. They are quite two different geographical locations. When Nigeria was conceived, the fact before the independence, we had three regions: the northern region, the western region, and then eastern region. Over time, we were able to bring in the Middle Belt, or we call them, the Midwestern region. Fine and good. So we had 4 regions before the Civil War, during the Civil War. Remember, what triggered the Civil War was not honoring the Aburi Accord in Ghana. Remember, there was a Aburi Accord in Ghana, and that accord was to prevent what was imminent, because the war was imminent. And we've discussed what triggered or what happened and things that we agreed during the Aburi Accord. But the immediate trigger to declaration was the creation of 12 states by Gowon on the 27th of May 1967. Immediately he created that 12 states. 3 days later, Ojukwu declared the Republic of Biafra. And before then, he divided the then eastern region into 3 states. You have rivers, you have the southeast, and you also have east central. So where we are today, the present southeast was known as East Central when Gowon created that very state. River State had states around it as river states. And you also have southeast. We also have a southeastern state. That was during Gowon's state creation. But presently, what we have now is states, some of the southeastern states have been moved to south-south. And East Central states is now the present southeast. But interestingly, the people who put up that document were right. Because during the period in view, River State was part of southeast, Bayelsa part of southeast, Akwa Ibom part of southeast, Cross River part of southeast. And remember, the very first place oil was discovered in Nigeria was in Bayelsa State, Oloribri. That was in 1957, even before we got independence. And even then, Bayelsa was also in southeast. It is right to say that the eastern region had the oil Nigeria could boast of then. So the documentary was right. And that was why Gowon in his book noted that Ojukwu mortgaged the oil in that area with one banking family in Germany. And I talked about it the other day. But it was something Ojukwu would not be alive to respond to. And a lot of things he said during that book. And he said that a lot of things, decisions that were taken during the war was to preserve Nigerian unity. But the question would be, why would there be debate on issue of Aburi? Things that we agreed. And you just started creating states. You are actually targeting Ojukwu. Because the idea was there was pogrom in the northern part of the country because there were a lot of triggers to the war. But I'm talking about the immediate trigger to the war was the creation of 12 states by Gowon. And where he targeted the eastern region and divided eastern region to 3 states and appointed administrators. And it was more like a slap on somebody who had taken you to Aburi for agreement, though certain issues were still being debated. What was agreed on, or things that we agreed upon and things were not agreed, and why Ojukwu made the broadcast, and why you did not even initially make the broadcast as agreed in Aburi, because the agreement was that you are going to make the broadcast and tell Nigerians what were things that we agreed. You were reneging. You were not forthcoming. And Ojukwu now went and made the broadcast. But he did not broadcast entire Nigeria. He was broadcasting to the eastern region, where he was the governor general, or where was the governor of the eastern region. A lot of triggers were up and about. So we saw that. And you can imagine the states in view, even the present Daura states, they were all part of the eastern region.
So what changed?
Things have changed because the one felt that there were a lot of minority ethnic groups. And recall, if you look at the minority ethnic groups, the Ibibio, the Efik, the Anang, the Ijo, the Ogoni, these were several minority groups. And he felt that this group should have their own voice. They should have their own voice. And he was aiming to see how he dislodged this group from Southeast. And many of them were for Ojukwu, and there were some of them that were for themselves. That's why if you go to Ipuri now, many of them will tell you that we are Ipuri people, that they are not Igbos. And for them, they have to find a political identity as against being locked into southeastern coloration. And they felt that if they are locked into southeastern coloration, they will be a minority and their voice will not be heard, and they will be submerged, consumed in such minority conclave, and they would want to be independent. And they felt that is why they are saying what they're saying. In fact, if you go to the other states today, people from Obe, they are Yoruba, and you have Urubo. Obe is a sub-tribe or a sub-unit of Yoruba, and at times, for political reasons, they will tell you they are not Yoruba, they are Obe people. But there are times they will also agree, because if you look at the governor of Delta State, Sheriff Oboro, he is from Obe. Because I listened to him, was it 2 days ago, where he was saying that Deltans, their votes are for Tinubu. Reason, because Tinubu is their in-law. That's what he said. That Oluremi Tinubu, the wife of the president, is from Ichekiri. She's an Ichekiri person. And Ichekiri is one of the tribes. In Delta State, of course, Ichekiri, we know very well, they are the one that control the Delta South senatorial districts. You can think of it. Delta South senatorial district, where you have likes of Warri North, Warri South East, and stuff like that, and some other states. And because, of course, they are mixed with a job, but they dominate the Delta Southern part of the of the state. Okay. But if you look at what the governor was saying, the governor says he's an Irobo, and she has a sister in Oluremi, and Mr. President is their in-law. For that reason, their votes will belong to their in-law. That the president has affiliation with them. He's the only state the president has marital affiliation, and they cannot allow what happened last time to happen. I listened to it. You know why I'm digressing is to let you know about some of these political identity and tribal identity. There are people that believe so much in political identity as against tribal identity, because if you look at it, the truth remains that the former or the eastern region, I still call them eastern. If you look at the map, is there. And these people, the Cross River, they all form part of the eastern region today. But for one reason or the other, everybody's going for political identity.
All right, let's, as much as the past has a lot to do with the formation of the present, we have other pressing issues presently, and one of them is the protest that happened yesterday in response to the kidnapping of children from a school in Oyo State on the 15th of May 2026. And of course, we understand that the protest spread to Lagos, Ogun, Abuja. We understand there was also protests here in Anambra and in so many other parts of the country. And now the question is, there's been repeated government promises after the incident of Chibok, the Kankara, the Kuriga. There have been repeated issues about handling this thing about children going missing. Hence, this Operation Safe Schools that was initiated sometime last 2 years. I am curious to find out why school children are still very vulnerable. And with everything that the Senate is saying about securing Nigeria, I don't see any calls for Operation Safe Schools. We have at least 52 million pupils at risk. It could happen anywhere. And last I checked, these children were taken as human shields. So why are we not going back to the drawing table to maybe start off Operation Safe School legislation again?
Well, you are talking about Operation Safe School Initiative. Remember, it's a policy. It was not legislated.
That's why I said a legislation on it. The Senate has been sitting, talking. And what is the least we can do to make sure that we do not have a reoccurrence?
I have said what we can do. If you put up the Operation Safe School initiatives, funds will be required to empower police and security agents. It could be from NCDSC and maybe many security agencies. They are where their men will be drafted to schools. Do you know how many primary schools we have in this country? Do you know how many secondary schools we have in this country? And the last I checked, we have over 30,000 primary schools, or more than. In fact, by the time you start stationing 5 policemen, what will be 5 policemen doing in a particular school to fight against those who may be over 300?
Some of the schools exist in clusters. This is what I mean. If you go through GRA, for instance, you'd find out that there are about 3 to 4 schools on one lane, right? I'm giving this as an instance, right? Now, when I say legislation on this is not also going to be taking away calls for the release of the children in captivity. I mean, there have been calls for schools to shut down till these kids return. And while schools are still in session, I am asking, what is being done to make sure that we do not have a repeat? Now, you are quoting the figures, Tony. How about we explore situation of the more volatile places getting at least an upping of their security now?
These things are what we call some kind of random exercise or recourse to see what we can do to protect schools. I've said it many times that the best we can do, yes, the schools exist in clusters in urban areas, but in rural areas they are not same. And I have just been trying to confirm we have about 92,700 primary schools in this country. And I was actually putting 30,000. I was thinking about secondary school. That's just that. But we are being told that was about 2020 data. But as at 2025, 26, we have about 119 primary schools.
How many are in volatile areas?
And many of them.
And how about we start to put attention there at least?
And it tells you that we can do something beyond this. Towns should take ownership of security. I have said it many times. Why would we have a centralized security system in the first instance? Why? Why would something be happening in my hometown and police in my hometown be waiting for order from Abuja to sweep in? See, let's be real. We are jokers. Honestly speaking, we are jokers in this country. And that's why we are responsible for what is going on in the country. We are responsible for the insecurity in the country. You have not taken the right steps. Why can't we? There is this phraseology or this aphorism from time immemorial that policing is local, and you are trying to bring a centralized community policing system. It's not going to work. Instead of these safe school initiatives, which we have also argued that we can legislate upon, for me, it's important that we have police in every town. We are the town, we take ownership. It's not about having police for schools alone. They are not there to protect the schools alone. They are there to protect the populace. In many ways, they are there to protect the populace. I have said it many times that for the fact that we have failed to do what we are supposed to do and what is required, what is necessary, we keep facing this problem, this anomaly. And I've given instances, places where we copied the democracy we copied from. Is the policing the way we have in this country? Even in UK, in Western world, in places you have plurality, in Brazil, in India, we have to do what is necessary. And our own case seems to be very, very familiar in the sense that we have groups that try to outrun or run down the country. And the best we can do is to make each town to take ownership of their security. If towns cannot afford it, local government can take charge. There are places, just like I mentioned, really local government. The other day we were talking about it, and I did say something. That local government is half of Anambra State. It's one of the biggest local government we have in the entire southern part of the country. And if they have policing system, you find that they may not be enough to be in every space within that very community. You see more reason town police will be very important. And why I keep shouting town police is because the people will take ownership. The leaders in that community, they will take ownership. And situations where they will know strangers when they come in, they will know those who are coming in. Of course, they will report to the local government. The local government will report to the state, and the state will report to the. We must have a way of trying to provide security for our people. If you do school or safe school initiative, what about churches? Are you going to do safe church initiative? Because you are not done with that alone. If you are done with the school and possibly done with the church, because you're going to have safe church initiative, safe mosque initiative, safe school initiative, you're also going to have safe market initiative. Are you done with that? Because you find out that you don't have the capacity to have school initiative, market initiative, and possibly mosque initiative, and all these initiatives. If you keep making laws, you find out that you can also use one stone to kill many birds. And that's why I've said, once you have this town police, local government police. They will take care of the churches, they will take care of the mosques, they will take care of the markets, they will take care of the schools, they will take care of every space, because the idea is to make sure, even the forest. Are you going to have safe forest initiatives? We need to make sure that these people, each time they move, either on motorcycle, the way they move, like Trojan horses, they must face resistance. I've seen the kind of guns they do bear. They bear sophisticated weapons, general purpose machine guns with over 2,000 rounds of ammunition in a magazine. I've seen these things. The idea is intelligence will help the people. Intelligence is more powerful than the weapon. Intelligence more powerful than the weapon if we're harnessed. Because by the time you make the people to take ownership of security, they form the intelligence circle. They process it because they trust the security outfit. They share this information with them. They know the pattern, they know the boundaries, they know the system, they know how these people operate. And that is why somebody can easily ambush you. How can you ambush somebody? Is it not through intelligence that they are coming? And you even, if hunters can easily ambush those with sophisticated weapons, but they can only do that if they trust those they are working with. If they can take ownership, it's important we do this.
Okay, Tony, let me come in here. Let me come in, and in this case, I want to come in from the point of how we evolve policies and what becomes the challenge is the implementation. Talking about the Safe School initiative that we mentioned here, if you look at how it was evolved, that was in 2014. It was evolved after that Chibok schoolgirls kidnapping in Borno State. And the essence of this very initiative is to protect students, get to protect teachers, school infrastructure for threats like terrorism, banditry, kidnapping. Since it was launched in 2014, I do not know to what extent we've been able to implement it. Now, if you look at this very strategy, it combines different measures, different security measures like community engagement, even rapid response. It even encompasses bringing on board community leaders who are going to be part of the security architecture to protect schools. But what is the level of implementation? Now let's look at the core components of this very strategy. There's one they call security deployment, which involves patrols by NCDC officers, then men of the Safe School Protection Squad. All these things were created. Then where I'm going to now is, let's talk about the other component of it, physical and structural safeguards. And this one talks about fencing, visitor identification system, control gates, then establishing a dedicated safe school department within that very Federal Ministry of Education and what have you not. Plenty of things were contained in this very initiative, well encapsulated, well put out. But when it now comes to that implementation, that's where you have the challenge. Let's even begin with how many schools in Nigeria have fenced. How many schools in Nigeria are well fenced? I was in North in 2011-12. I spent 1 year plus. The school where I was working in Gariki in Jigawa State, he had a large span of land. There was no fence, so anybody can come in from any dimension and come into the school, go out uncontrolled. There are schools in the southeast too. That was about 4 years ago. There's one school in Ekusigo that, through the effort of some media people, one honorable member was able to go there and fence the school. Now, so we have many schools who don't even have fence. So, have we been able to do the basics contained in this safe school initiative? How much more? What you're talking about, doing this, getting arms, and what have you not?
Now, frankly, we are talking about fence, as if that if you provide fence, that it will be a barrier for these people not to attack students. They will scale the fence. They'll even put at the gate. But I understand.
Hold on. It's not that if you just provide fence.
Now you will provide other things. I understand.
When you have a school that is well fenced and has one central gate,
okay,
one entrance.
That is
an exit.
It starts from there first.
Let me begin by also saying the churches we have, they do have fences where they spared. Let me finish because I understand your point.
If you check, just
let me
check the churches that have
let me say this. Do you know that universities in UK they don't have fences?
Tony, this is the
hold
UK.
on, calm down first. I'm saying seek ye the kingdom of God first.
It's not university. If you go to UK, even a hotel, you are in a hotel and somebody passing by somewhere, because
they have security rights.
Environment is quite different from the
because they have security rights.
It's quite different. Now let me tell you, in the olden days, in the Igbo land, people never cared about
that. Is the point, because there is security.
No,
and it takes us back to what he's saying, because there is no security. That is the we should start with fencing.
Let me say this thing. Let me say this thing. Let me say this thing.
Tony, hold on. Now, are you telling me that between somebody having a fence and not having sex, which one is easier to have access to?
All right. If you ask a simple question, the one that is very easy to have access is to the person who has no fence. Go on with your question.
No, that's not my question. So if you're talking about saying, if you're trying to downplay the importance of schools having fence, I do not agree with you, because if you have fence one and you have a central entrance, now you can argue that somebody can scale fence. But when somebody sees you scaling fence, it's good enough to raise an alarm.
Let me ask you.
When you have schools exposed from all corners,
anything can happen. It's garbage in, garbage out.
Let me say this thing. I'm saying that we are being reactive as against going to causative factors. These are reactive factors. We are being, it's just like somebody having malaria. Somebody having malaria. We are treating fever as against treating malaria. That's where I'm coming from.
Give me a second.
Let me finish because there is a point I want to raise. Whatever you say, Franklin, is in order, but we have not addressed the root causes. And once you have not addressed the root cause of anything, you will keep having that problem from time to time. If you put on fence, put on central system, put on all these things, they will find a way. Remember the people we are talking about. They move in hundreds. They are not like church rat thieves. They move in hundreds. They move in droves.
Let's not forget that it's actually weird and very, very hard to believe that people who move in hundreds infiltrate a place. They move, they leave a trail. Don't tell me that if a siren starts moving on O'Connor streets irregularly, a long entourage, nobody raises an eyebrow, nobody starts saying on security officials,
that is where I'm
and it happens in and out of different parts of the country. However, Franklin's argument asking that basic protective measures be taken is very valid. When we made the analogy about malaria and fever, I was hoping you'd say causative factors. Make sure there are no waterlogged gutters and drainages around. Make sure that people sleep with their mosquito nets. These are causative factors. Exposure to mosquito. And so if we are looking at exposure here, there are so many factors.
Of course.
The fact that security is not down to the grassroots, like you mentioned. And also, like you mentioned, these places are too porous.
Now, let me ask you.
So easily accessed.
Nigeria is a country, because we must be real. Most northern schools, we saw a video in Ebonyi State. They don't even have a good classroom. And we are talking about things.
Takes us back to the problem. Now, the government. Who is supposed to provide all of those?
The thing is this. I listened to P2B when he said he fenced Army Barracks on Nisha. The one here. He said 1 billion was used to fence Army Barracks on Nisha. That was the amount used, expended. This Army Barrack, according to P2B.
It's a large man.
Now, if you start talking about fencing schools, 119 schools in Nigeria, my brother, the money involved will be much more than what we will need to fix our energy crisis.
Tony,
we are looking at
give me a second.
Possibilities.
We understand your. Give me.
That is the best.
Hold on to that thought.
To be done to any school. You can't
hold on to that thought, Franklin. I went to a federal government girls' college, and as large as our landmass is, it is fenced to the very last.
Now,
you will drive into internal parts of the bush and you still find the fences. The point is, someone thought it a priority, right? Now, I have a few questions now. If a government that establishes schools, remember, every child has right to education. And now, if you provide education and you do not make the environment safe and conducive, you have grossly failed.
Now, fine and good. Now, we are talking about fencing. Fencing is because it's that part of security. The question is, do we have good schools that have good structures? We don't see. It is the responsibility of government. Remember, schools, they are in residual list. It's something that even the private sectors can come in. We have government schools, we have the private schools, and you have the one state take care of. But we are also urging government to do the fencing. But I'm saying, look at my argument. The argument is provide security first, because security comes first. Then fortify the security. Fencing could be a way to fortify security. Provide security. If you don't provide security, no matter the kind of fencing you have, you've not done anything. Fencing should be to fortify what is already in place. You have security already, and where you have security already, and security people know very well that with fencing it becomes difficult. But when you don't provide security first and you want to provide fencing, you've not done anything. First.
This question of providing security.
Okay.
What does it mean? Because each time we talk about providing security, in Nigeria we have soldiers. We have the military, we have the police, we have the NSCDC, we have the forest rangers. Just name them.
Okay.
All these things have been established.
Yeah.
So if somebody is going to argue that you don't have security,
Yes.
you might not be totally right.
Yes.
Now, what I'm talking about is, even if you're talking about provide security, it's not about having the physical thing.
Yeah.
The thing is, the main thing that needs to be dealt with about insecurity in Nigeria is, have we mustered the will? That's number one. Then, apart from the will, have we mustered the needed manpower to be able to do this? Then, have we also gotten the equipment that they need to enable them to work? Then another one is, have we encouraged the people who are fighting for Nigeria, for them to be able to have that very encouragement and motivation to do more than they are doing? Then have we done the needed thing to sanitize that security system so that those who are compromising will be able to fish them out? I'll give you an instance. The one that happened in Oyo State. Is it not out there in the media that they got collaboration from locals who gave them information on how to navigate? So the issue about security is not just about we scatter policemen everywhere. If you scatter them everywhere and they are still being sabotaged, they would be killed on a daily basis, because locals will still provide intel to those who are going to attack on how to attack and get scot-free.
Now,
so the issue about getting security in Nigeria is multifaceted.
Okay. Now,
we need to begin to deal with the foundational one, like get what you're supposed to be like. If as we speak now, you can't tell me that even with the number of policemen we have, that if we muster the will, we cannot get results. Let me give you an instance. In this country, once anybody who is well connected is involved in security breach, watch out and see results. So how do they get the results?
All right, let me
number we have.
Let me shock you. Let's use Brazil as a case study, because Brazil, they have many tribes, and the kind of population they have is close to our own population in Brazil. I'm aware that you have almost close to 800,000 police officers in Brazil, and the last I checked, their population should be around, if I'm not mistaken, about 200 and something million. Let's say 230 million or 240 million. That's Brazil. A country like Brazil with a population of, let's say, 240 million, with a police personnel in their numerical strength over 800,000, and yet decentralized in a way that the locals, the communities, also help in security. Now, Nigeria, we are told that the number of police we have in this country, roughly about 350 or 400. That is half of what Brazil have, and it's centralized. And you tell me there is security. Obviously, there is no security. When we talk about providing security, we are talking about not just the manpower you mentioned, not just the physical distance. That's what we call will. And I have said it here: any form of local policing system where the people do not take ownership, for me, does not work, because it takes the intelligence of the people to make police work. Police work, or it becomes efficient because the people have their share, especially either in their governance or other ways of activities.
So how do we make this work? Because back to that same thing that you should raise about sales school initiative.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. If you take your time to go through that very policy, you see that what needs to be done is well encapsulated in that very policy.
Yeah.
But the fact that we have failed to implement that, that's why we have not gotten a result. Now, if you take it,
children are taken at will.
That's one component that talks about community participation.
Yeah.
Now, this initiative encourages parents traditional rulers, community leaders, school administrators, local vigilante groups to work with security agencies in identifying and reporting threats.
How would they trust the security agencies you are telling them to work with?
That's what I'm telling you.
They don't trust them.
That's what I'm telling you.
Because they don't take ownership.
I'm not so that's the reason why we are getting.
I understand you.
You have said what you said, but what you're saying is that whatever you are saying now is already known to the authorities who's supposed to do that.
That is the point of the political will.
That has not been done.
That is political. Let me say this thing. An average Nigerian will tell you that police is not my friend, that police is my enemy, as presently constituted. An average Nigerian will tell you police is my enemy, not my friend, as professed. And with that already, how do you expect him to work with somebody he sees as an enemy? Because for them, you bring in somebody, you bring Chinedu to Sokoto to work. Chinedu has a lot of barrier. Working in Sokoto, language barrier, cultural barrier, a lot of barriers. How would you expect him to perform well? You bring Adamu from Nasarawa or Adamu from Zamfara to work in my village. How do you expect Adamu? Because people in my village will see Adamu as a stranger, as a complete enemy, and he cannot work efficiently. There are a lot of things we need to rejig. That's why I said we must have policing system where people will take ownership. Once they take ownership, there is confidence, there is trust, and there is this working together. And if you look at the Safe School Initiative, we identify some of these structural challenges. Yes, the community, they are expected to do this, but community may not be able to do that because they see those people as strangers, as enemies. And now we are talking about Islamization agenda, and there are people that will tell you in anything you do, in any work you perform, they will read meaning into it because of where you're coming from, whatever they think or feel about where you're coming from, because they are yardstick for judgment, and you cannot take these things away. The most important thing I've said, in United States of America, I was actually using Brazil, where communities, policing is local. They have the population. US has the same population. But you will say, our mindset, we can use some kind of buffers as against abuse. There is nothing in this life, there is no abuse. There is nothing. What is being used to safeguard against abuse, we have buffers we must put in place. And that's why I said, community should take ownership. Once they take ownership, abuse becomes less. Because it is collectively owned. It's a communal thing. But we must be, because look at the spaces. Look at the spaces we are talking about. Yes, our schools, they are lacking a lot in terms of infrastructure, in terms of security, in terms of fencing. These things are there. And that's why we said we need more investment in those areas. What about our health institutions? Many health facilities don't have security. Just like I said, if we begin by this initiative, Safe School Initiative, we can also begin Safe Hospital Initiative.
Last I checked, patients have not been moved as much as students have been moved in Nigeria.
That's one thing.
Okay.
We have to recognize. Okay. You know that when you come to school and everywhere is porous, a spy can easily walk in, spy the environment, and get information on how they can operate.
And that's it. And that is it. And when the spy comes, nobody sees the spy as a foreign person or somebody. That's why if the community take ownership, once a spy comes, they will see this person as a stranger. This person does not belong here. What is he doing here? Look at the spy that happened between Bournemouth, Southampton, and Middlesbrough. We saw the spy agent. He went to the training ground of the Middlesbrough where they were training for the championship playoff. What happened? Immediately they saw him, they knew he never belonged here. They were quick to identify that this person at that time was a spy. Okay. And that was why they captured him, because he was immediately identified as a stranger.
Let's hope that these children that have been taken are recovered sound, hale and hearty. We hope that they are recovered alive, to say the least. Yesterday, Atiku has been calling for an investigation and demanding answers into how there was a leak on voter database. According to reports, it was Wike's media aide, Lere, that put out a screenshot of Emekike's database that is supposed to be a secret document that INEC alone has. And according to the screenshot, it showed that this actually has been gotten from INEC's private database. And according to reports, the DSS is on this investigation. The DSS is in on this investigation. And according to Professor Joash Ampeton, he said the INEC database hasn't been compromised. So, question is, how did this leak come about in the first place? And what are the implications, Tony?
Well, for me, for you to have those information, there must be necessary data you must key in to have every information about the person.
Passwords, according to the report.
That's what I'm saying. So how did Larry or Lainka get access to those codes?
Most likely an internal person. Most likely working with an internal person.
For me, if I want to access my data from INEC database, I will just go straight to inecportal.org, just search it on Google. It will bring you the URL. Once the URL comes out, you click it and then you go to your state. From going to your state, you'll be asked to go to your local government. From going to your local government, you'll be asked to go to your ward. Situation where you don't know your ward, there are questions, there are some other things you put where you don't know your ward that will help you to uplift that ward. And situations where it gets to your information, where you are from, your place of birth, your date of birth, and because these were some of the information this guy displayed.
And so we are looking at the integrity now of voters register, and in general, 2027 in perspective, the integrity of everything that INEC is supposed to protect, be in charge of, and stand for. Do you see any questions being raised and any tenable answers being provided?
Well, for me, INEC hasn't given us the kind of answers we are expecting.
Investigations are ongoing.
Forget that. See, they try to use investigation is ongoing to either abuse the mind or trying to downplay things going on in this country. I had expected by now, INEC ought to have invited Lero Lainka for questioning. What kind of investigation is going? When it happens to people who are in power, investigation is ongoing. When it happens to an ordinary person, you will hear the person be invited by police immediately without investigation. They will tell you that your invitation is part of the investigation. For ordinary man, your invitation is part of investigation. But for people in power, investigation is ongoing without your invitation. So it seems that we have two laws for different people in this country. For me, it doesn't go well. This man has actually undermined the integrity of INEC server. If we can have such at this level, what happens by the time results start trickling in? So people are beginning to suspect that for him to have access to certain information about the server, it means that he could also have access by the time the viewing portal and other INEC result viewing portals, these things are involved. It is a red flag. Let me be honest with you. It's a red flag. Does it mean that INEC cannot even protect its own property? Does it mean that INEC cannot? Who gave him the passcode, the password, the key to unlock such information? If he can unlock such information at this stage, he can also unlock this information by the time the results start trickling in. And if I can unlock any database, I can manipulate, I can infiltrate, I can do and undo. It's a very big red flag for the election we are talking about.
All right, let's attend to a commercial. Please hold on to that thought. When we come back, Franklin, you throw that in. We also understand that private sector is rejecting the move to increase minimum wage to 100,000. Okay. Keep it locked.
You're listening to Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Seriously authentic.
Are you looking for a perfect space to make your events unforgettable? From child dedications to weddings, concerts, birthday parties, crusades, or even corporate events. City Hall Entertainment Ventures presents City Hall, Awada, located at number 10 Ijala Street, near Ukebu Junction, Awada Obosi. With a 600 seating capacity, state-of-the-art stage, standard wash facilities, a massive parking space, 24/7 lighting, and proper ventilation and cooling system to keep your guests super comfortable. City Hall Entertainment Ventures, and even cooling equipment to make sure that all your drinks are chilled. For bookings and reservations, please call 0803 324 2806 or 0906 000 7617. Hurry now to number 10 Ijala Street, Awada for all bookings and reservations and get a 10% discount.
Udala Radio 104.7 FM. listening to the Polity. Get involved now.
Good to know you're still here with us on the Polity on Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Franklin, you were about to ask a question.
Okay, so totally. Yesterday this thing came up, of course. It came up when we were having a conversation. Then you mentioned something. He said it wasn't actually a big deal. That's what that moment.
Yeah.
Because anybody who has access to certain kinds of login will be able to get that kind of information. Now, if you look at the statement which INEC issued yesterday, it showed that the site for such action is not open to anybody except people who are authorized and given those very details. And I'm going to cite a part of the statement which was issued by INEC yesterday. INEC said, as part of the ongoing CVR exercise nationwide, authorized INEC registration officers were granted control access to specific components of the CVR system to enable them register new applicants, process requests for transfer of registration, and update voter records where necessary. Such access is restricted to official duties only and is withdrawn at the conclusion of the exercise. Now, it simply means that somebody who has access to this was the one who did it for Lere Olayinka, or he has the access and was able to do that. Now, another part of that message, or that very statement by INEC says, the audit 12 from the preliminary investigation has enabled the Commission to identify the user account through which the information was accessed. And he said, accordingly, relevant personnel have been questioned and all units connected with the incident are cooperating fully with the investigation. Now, my question borders on what this thing says about safety of our data. Second one, the issue of privacy. Because I'm aware that in Nigeria, that's what we have this very Nigeria Data Protection Act of 2023. And from every available record, or from what we know, what Lele Olayinka did could be in the realm of breach of this very law. And if it is, why is he not being questioned now? Because if you look at the actions he took, if you're going to look at it critically, you see that there is the issue of alleged breach of voter privacy. There's also the issue of questions about access to INEC internal systems. There's a question about data security concerns, then the potential violation of data protection principles I just mentioned, and maybe political intimidation allegation. So if all these things have been in the sphere of what happened, what will it take to bring Olayinka to question? Is he protected? He's not covered by any immunity. So why has nobody closing on him for him to answer questions regarding how he was able to get access to those information?
Well, I'm not surprised why he has not been invited for questioning. I'm not surprised because he's protected by the Minister of FCT, Wike, and from the look of things, he is untouchable. You may not like to hear that, but that's the way it appears. Is it supposed to be that way? It is not. Is it supposed to be the way and manner the whole thing is being looked upon? The answer is no, because if you go by A.V. Dicey's, the law of the Constitution, when he talked about or espoused the principle of the supremacy of law, the rule of law, and all that, you find out that it's far from this country. The point is, yes, we have Nigeria's Data Protection Act of 2023 and Cyber Crimes Prohibition and Prevention Act, etc. And you can also quite agree with me that there are fines, because once you have committed any offense and where it's adjudicated and you're convicted, of course, there are monetary penalties in some cases where the person responsible for such unlawful processing or disclosure of personal data will be actually arraigned, prosecuted, and convicted. There is also imprisonment, because if the conduct amounts to unauthorized access to a protected computer system, unlawful disclosure of data, or other offenses. In fact, under the Cybercrime Act, imprisonment upon conviction is viable. But the truth remains that, just like I said earlier on, I thought that because the information Leno or Layinka displayed is not something anybody can do.
Just have access to. You need to actually be working within INEC.
That's what I'm saying. Because the one he disclosed, I was thinking that probably he actually goes through the word and all that, and possibly the name of the voter. But he went deep. And from the look of things, there is no way he could have got that without either him having access or somebody in INEC giving him such access, either of the two. But the point is, INEC has not even invited him. And that is where many Nigerians are so much concerned that if this be the case, are we going to trust the 2027 results that will be declared by INEC? Because some of the things we process, does it mean that there are people that could also have access to this data? I've said it many times that we are actually where we are. Because for him to have published this information relating to Mekike, I know it was as a result of politics where he was trying to say Mekike registered in Imo State and he was actually running for primaries to contest a position in FCT. How does this tally? I think that's where exactly what pushed him to all this, trying to mock him as usual, because that's what he does, is to have access to certain classified information and mock those involved. He has been doing this. He has been doing the dirty work for the Minister of FCT, there's no doubt. But this time around, it is something that has to do with an institution responsible for conducting national election. Having unauthorized access to INEC database is a crime. It's pure criminality. Pure criminality. I've said it here. We have the laws where he can be arraigned, where he can be prosecuted if found guilty. But I assure you, these things will not happen. Because of the person involved. It cannot happen.
We quickly need to open up the phone lines. However, we also understand that governors have proposed 100,000 naira new minimum wage, and the private sector runners are saying this might be an overreach, especially bearing in mind other economic realities. Tony, let's save that for when you sign off. Right. 0803-221-6973, 0803-827-6694. Good morning.
Good morning, Chisom.
Good morning.
Good morning, Franklin.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning, my speaker, Right Honorable Chief Tony Risa Obonian Becky.
You're welcome. It's good to have you.
The voice of Honorable the Mayor Okuchukwu JP Okurola Ochondo Umezemeka would have known. As the last discussion about Mekike, Tony and the plea in the house, this is Nigeria for you. Everything is possible. More especially where it concerns Wike in Nigeria. And I want to make it known to everybody that Nigeria has two classes of people, low class and high class. When it happens to a low class, it will be a different ballgame. High class, a different ballgame. So you see that things will still remain the way it is. Then about these girls, about these children that were kidnapped, there's an information that they are released. There is information that they have not been released, that talk are still going on. So we want you to clear us very well to know whether they have been released and how much was paid or how they were released.
We didn't report any release here on the show.
Some people last 2 weeks and say that they are under the wire, the electricity wire. Take them and went to the local government. They did not enter inside the office or any office. Collect money, 40,000 naira from them, and release them again. Say they should pay fine of 20,000 naira again. Please check this information and know who is involved in this information, because that is the extortion we are talking about in Anambra State. It is very important.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that information. 0803-221-6973. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, my speaker.
Good morning.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Honorable. I call from my group.
Go ahead, please. Could you please move away from your radio set?
Yeah, I have gone out.
Okay.
Yeah, there's something I want to say on the issue of there's insecurity here in Nigeria. Actually, what people can make are saying is very good. And what people are saying about the question of the war, the question of the streets are good too. And in this country, we have built our trust. the trust has been breached. And that is very, very important because when you look at what causes insecurity in Nigeria, one, we have a body egg among these security people. First and foremost, they have to fish out those bad eggs before we're not talking about the security, whether friends or not, whether it's state police or local police or not. One is the body eggs. And to do that, we have to get this camera, this our political working with the camera in the body to know what actually they are doing when they are on duty or out of duty, because this has become a very vital thing which we are not using those cameras to monitor them, because and the people that are going to checkmate them and implement the law that any police or any security that going out with that camera must be fished out and punished. So if all these things we are put in place, I believe that this type of insecurity, some of them will stop, and this indeed is a way to stop some of this insecurity in Nigeria. Thank you.
All right then. 0803-827-6694. You can drop your comment on Facebook. Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Hello.
Good morning.
Yes,
Tony.
good morning.
And good morning, Mr. Frank and Dr. Lisanbek.
You're welcome.
My name is Maruki Shuka, Counter Manager. Let me talk on the issue of MKK. Well, to me, in this country, we are, I don't know how I will put it, we are exhibiting this character. It does not concern me. This nonchalant attitude is not my case, so I don't want to talk about it. It's affecting us. Look at as a big issue like this. The whole politicians in Nigeria, they are keeping quiet. That is my problem. It's only a making that is challenging this thing. And every other politician, even
Atiku has challenged it.
No, not like this. Not like this. This is a very serious issue. We are talking about INEC secrecy here. And the one person who is not an INEC, is not an INEC official, it doesn't relate to anything concerning INEC. Not something like this to the public, and we are keeping quiet, and the INEC is about to conduct an election. That is why I keep hammering. If Joas Amuputa is on a mission, this man is not supposed to conduct this election. I am telling the truth. No matter how it is, if this man conducts this election, Nigerians will fail. By now, this man is supposed to be gotten out of that seat. Even to we that are supposed to vote, we're supposed to protest about this. Tomorrow will come and they tell us, go and get your voter's card. So even show me, because she was preaching it yesterday, go and get your voter's card. Go and get your... When the person who is going to conduct that election is not even checked. We are talking about getting your voter's card.
Well, getting your voter's card is you doing your part. And I don't really think it's civil for us to have conversations about the way things are going, and you start to make excuses for not good voter card.
I'm coming from. Show me. Say the angle I'm coming from. We that are supposed to, in fact, the whole Nigerians were supposed to protest for this particular thing. This is supposed to be our secret. But one person just brought up this thing, and we are keeping quiet. I and you that are supposed to be voting that particular day, supposed to be challenging this thing. Because that shows that our secret is a secret. For me, politicians, voters, we are not supposed to keep quiet. That man by now is supposed to be inside police custody or even TSS to tell us how. And again, no matter how it is, must go out of that office. Thank you very much, if you like.
Okay, let me ask, so that we'll have it in view. So, like this bridge now, is it about Joas Amukuto, or about the fact that other people who work for INEC may have people they are serving who are in government?
Hello there.
Hello, good morning, Tom.
Turn down the volume on your radio side. Good morning.
Good morning.
You're welcome.
Thank you. You people speak about this issue of traffic in Anambra State. Let me speak 1 minute about it. My encounter there is that there are some people that will catch you, and you discover that those of them, there will be 4 in the vehicle, and it will be only one person that is wearing the uniform. and 3 others doesn't wear uniform, and they're carrying a bus. And I want to ask, those people without uniform, are they really legal? Is their work fair? I don't know how they work on it, because I think that when they cut you, will see uniform on them, and you know that these people is working for a government. But when we see some of them wearing mufti, and they will catch you that you offend, you have an offense, and you look at them, if they look like criminals. So how are you going to approach this kind of people if you meet them? Thank you.
Okay then. That's a question there, Tony. I'm pretty sure you would have answers. He said, how do you approach them if you meet them? Good morning.
Hello?
Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Go ahead, please.
For the issue of Mr. Ike and the INEC committee, remember the statement from our next president, Pablo. He said that the election of that is a done deal. So this is just what they are doing to make sure that this statement comes to a reality. That this election is a done deal. Maybe it's God, the God has spoken, and they are working to make sure that this will come to a reality. Just imagine somebody having a say. So I need
0803-221-697-30, 0803-827-6694. For one more call, I head over to Facebook. Hello there.
Hello, good morning.
Yes, good morning.
My name is George, calling from Asaba.
Speak to us, Judge.
Yeah, you see, why sometimes we complain about our voting system. It's all about people go and collect your voter's card and go and vote. At the end of the day, we are seeing every indication that your vote is not going to count. You see, why we Nigerians are complaining on what happened to Emeki case is that means that whatever any information that somebody needs, you can equally go there and just do. So Nigeria is supposed to fight this. At least if they were to start fighting the INEC before the election, it's very nice. Because we have already seen the handwriting on the wall that this Amotekun of a man is going to be a biased empire on this vote of 2027. So that's why we are worried. So Nigeria need to come out and ask them questions to know exactly what happened, how that information came out, who and who is involved. It's not so. Someone must please, if you can provide us somebody that leaked that information, that the let them come out and tell us whether that man is a member of INEC or not. Because you can tell me we can't be in Nigeria be doing like it's almost like untouchable, like nobody can talk to him, nobody can do anything to him. I think we can stop bigger than Nigeria. No matter the way we look at it, he's never bigger than Nigeria. It's not Nigeria, it's just keeping me quiet to be doing the things he's doing. Even I thought that the president is not, but there's a crime that he will commit. He will know that there's no humility that is covering him as Minister of FCC. So who's getting to know? But we're keeping everything quiet. This man is doing above the reach that is bigger than all Nigeria. Look the way he talks. Yesterday, look at the way that he addressing people that are protesting. Making it to look like kidnapping is a normal thing. They have kidnapped teachers in Abuja. Why this one is different? Why this protest? So, in fact, I'm so tired of what's going on.
We're totally out of time. Thank you very much. Let's head over to Facebook now.
Okay, so before I get to the responses, let me even tell you that see that data of Emeki which was put out. I have logged into the address. No, there's an address on that information, and I logged in there. It's now on my screen. You can see that for you to have access to that very page, you need to have a username and a password. So that means
somebody from INEC's office.
Of course, someone has it. Okay, so let's go to the post we have on our Facebook page. Godswill Osibo says he's hoping that one day there's going to be a country Okay, he posted from Awada. Wisdom Peter, thank you for following. Likewise, and Wisdom who posted from Asaba. Uchen and Kama also thank you. Jeku Bishop from Akragana says Adebayo's command to the military is just a face-saving comment. Let him go and hide his face. Okay. Omagan Naman says the appropriate authorities should collaborate and marshal out appropriate measures to rescue the kidnapped teachers and pupils in Oyo State. His teaching time saves 9. And he goes on to say that the persistent rise in the cases of kidnapping, banditry, and killings have become a recurring concern to every Nigerian. Where are we going from here? Honestly, we need divine intervention in this country. That's by also Francis Omaganamani, posted from Mamagos in Enugu State. Gregory Thaddeus says, I encourage Emekike to see Olayinke and he will be found guilty and punished. The more we allow such illegal actions to go unpunished, the more we are planting to mess. He commented from Asaba Delta State. Jim Chevy says he posted from Ogun State. Jim Konye Solomon is his real name. He says INEC's credibility is questionable because a lot has been compromised. They are not independent. If the chairman is solely appointed by They are not independent. If the chairman is solely by appointment, this very clause has undermined the integrity of the ministry. Secondly, insecurity in Nigeria is a pure business. Decentralizing the system and creating a community policing system is the way forward. Odile Aloysius from Umova Nam says, it is still very sad that after 2 weeks of abduction, these children have not been rescued. Nobody knows the situation of these children, how are they feeding, and how they took inside the bush. He says it's very painful. Iketuku Christopher from Abatan Suba says information and intelligence is the highest weapon to fight insecurity, not guns. Are we telling ourselves that the government didn't get any information from their arrested bandits? What happens to the sponsor to the Boko Haram? Have their supply chains been caught? The government is just protecting and pampering the bandits and the people behind it. Most weapons used by the bandits are not manufactured in Nigeria. The movement of funds and ransoms can be checked by technology. And he's saying that government has failed us. Chooks as a debate goes, he's talking about the story I shared about Ocha Brigade, and he says they have no right or reason arresting people who are urinating on the roadside without providing convenience for people. And he says that in Lagos there's a man who does the business of convenience. He builds and sells his small dispatch plastic boats, and you can find it all over Lagos State. People can use it for urinating and defecating with a fee. And he says in Onitsha, I don't think they provided any roadside convenience from a P worker to Board Junction by express. This one I'm going to read now, and then that'll be all. John Iwekenechi says Nigeria has been concentrating more on analog methods of fighting crime than digital approach. Advanced countries' methods are digital. Nigeria is only interested in making millions of laws, employing more security men, and concentrating more on human strength and technology. Technology can reduce our millions of laws, unnecessary employment, and the exposure of our security men to danger. Okay, and then there are other posts there. Zekwe Celestine, Etete Patrick, Dr. Miss Simole Bratmore, Ethos the Law Onwalu, and others. We thank you for joining the show.
Thank you for joining the show. Tony, your final words, please.
Let me quickly touch on the issue of minimum wage. Yes, the Governors Forum, they are trying to make a proposal for 100,000. The private sector, they are saying no, that you can't just lobby this on us. The cost of operation is already heavy on us, especially cost of diesel and energy. And if we do that, what it means that we are going to entrench a lot of people. For us to have those, we can be able to pay this. You see the crossroad we are in now. And for me, 100,000 cannot even take anybody home. I'm talking there, even a single person, not to talk about somebody
that has a family.
A single person, 100,000 cannot take you home. How much is 100,000? What can 100,000 provide for you? We are really deep in this mix. We are talking about what do we do to make economic viable, to increase supply chains. We can begin by solving the energy crisis. All these borrowings for super highways, if you have committed that money in solving energy crisis, it will help a lot of manufacturers to ease the pace of cost of production. And then when we are talking about increments in salaries, of course they know very well that that aspect has been eased, and they will see reason why there will be increase in salaries. Minimum wage at 100 cannot take anybody home. Government must look inwards to bring and provide this enabling environment for private sectors to thrive, and they cannot resist because they know very well that 100,000 is nothing in this present economy. We will leave it at this point because there is no time to talk more about this.
Thank you, Tony. Franklin.
Let me laugh a bit. You know, private sector people are reacting to a proposal, an intention, an idea by Kwara State Governor who is outgoing. He was just talking and he said they should consider, they should think about increasing to 100. Not even that it's been put on the card. That's number one. Then the thing is, you know, when we talk about issues about Nigeria, the way we treat things is quite laughable. I'm going to end this very well. The children who were kidnapped in Oyo State and teachers, and everybody has been crying, outraged here and there, asking government to do the needful. Guess what? Yesterday we got to know that as part of their measures to respond to the emotional trauma of the families, that what government did was to visit the families and offer them rice. You heard about it?
Rice.
They offered rice to them and they rejected it. State government offered rice. Federal government offered rice. Now, so how does that make you feel as a Nigerian that this is the approach that our political leaders adopt when issues like this happen? Then somebody can argue, yes, it's just to respond to their food need and what have you. But somebody whose child is in captivity, under threat, do you think that what he needs at that point in time is to provide rights? I'll leave it at this point.
All right, thank you, gentlemen, for your contribution on today's edition of the Polity. And like I have been doing since the 15th or the 16th of May 2026, I'll again join my voice to those of the parents of these children who only went to school on the 15th of May 2026 and have not returned.